Welcome to the Esteemed FaceTime with Leaders, an initiative by World Development Corporation. I am Falakzeh Khan, anchor at World Development Corporation. FaceTime with Leaders is a platform for industry titans to share their experiences, thoughts, ideas, and best practices in order to inspire one another and future leaders. In a nutshell, we attempt to encapsulate the multi-decadal learnings acquired by these industry leaders. We also hope that by conducting these FaceTime with Leaders interviews, we can bring together a global community of eminent personalities. By bringing together such visionaries on one platform, we hope to play a part in inspiring the lives of other leaders. Great learnings from great leaders undoubtedly assist everyone by identifying, nurturing, and using the trade secrets that are proven success formulas for many. And this is what we aim for with these sessions, by making them a gathering of industry stalwarts and a knowledge-sharing community. We have one such corporate stalwart on FaceTime with Leaders with us today, Mr. Pankaj Mehta. Hello, welcome, Mr. Mehta. We are glad to have you here today with us on FaceTime with Leaders.
Thank you, Falak. Thanks for the invitation, and I'm also happy to join in today.
Thank you so much for being with us today here.
Well,
So let me give you a quick brief about Mr. Pankaj Mehta. He stands out as a seasoned professional with a wealth of experience in the banking, financial services, and automobile sectors across India and Saudi Arabia. Armed with a comprehensive understanding of corporate banking, credit risk management, OEM sales, business development, and team management, he has demonstrated prowess in diverse areas ranging from working capital, trade finance, inventory funding, factoring, bespoke funding, priority sector lending, export packing credit limits, and Islamic financing in banking to vendor development, managing dealer network, shop floor, and project management in automobile sector. His expertise extends to the realms of financial analysis, balance sheet management, credit proposals, and managing end-to-end business cycles, starting with lead generation to credit to post-disbursement account management in entire asset side of banks and finance companies, ranging from retail loans, SME funding to corporate finance. He has a well-developed and maintained network of CXOs, KMP, and promoters through the entire corporate spectrum and access to lucrative export markets in the Middle East and Africa. In his current role as a financial consultant to the Sikkim government, he is actively promoting Sikkim as an investment destination. His responsibilities include advising and liaising with corporates to facilitate interactions with the Sikkim government, showcasing a commitment to fostering economic development. He also provides consultancy to startups for equity infusion, venture capital, and business development. So, Mr. Mehta, to begin with, could you let our viewers know in brief about your career journey so far?
I often describe myself as an engineer by qualification and a business development professional by experience. Post my engineering in production from University of Pune, I started off my career on a shop floor working with the glass processing unit for automobile industry. Over there, I not only picked up experience in man management, in supervision of labor in both skilled and unskilled labor and on the shop floor, project management, and during the process of the time, I also got into commercial activities like billing, attending on to OE sales, attending on to bankers for working capital limits, liaising with bankers for the working capital limits for audits. Subsequent to that, I was with the assembly lines with Hindustan Motors and Mahindra. Over there, what I gathered was an ample amount of experience in dealer management. I was able to connect with the dealers and create my own dealer network, because there were dealers who really wanted to have a change. So I managed to create a new dealer network and exponentially give a boost to the sales in the region. One thing which happened while I was with Mahindra was that invariably, because of the economic situation and the requirements of that particular time, I ended up interacting with a lot of bankers, both for retail financing of the clients of the dealers, as well as inventory funding of the dealer itself. Now that led to a lot of interest in finance world, and that's where I switched on to ICICI Bank. In fact, I proudly claim that I'm one of the first people from the private sector banking to have got into, financing of tractors and farm equipments. This is almost like 20 years back. Uh, Thereafter, within banking itself, I was able to, shift over to unsecured personal loans, business loans. In fact, I was the one who had actually set up a sales network for Development Credit Bank in North India for personal loans. Thereafter, the best thing that I would say in banking happened to me was HDFC Bank, wherein I was looking after corporate finance as well as SME business banking, business banking and SME financing. This gave me an insight into financial analysis. I was an engineer by qualification, but I didn't have any idea of what a balance sheet management is all about. It is at HDFC, while interacting with clients, with interacting with credit and the risk management teams, unfortunately, because of my mentor, that I was able to get into financial analysis, balance sheets management. And I realized how and when an entry should be moving within the balance sheet and profit and loss, for me to take a calculated risk towards, as a pre-credit person. Thereafter, I was so within the HDFC, I manage a lot of, as a portfolio was ranging from $1 billion managing assets, well over $1 billion USDs, and while in SME somewhere around 2 to 300 crores of assets, which I developed totally as a new acquisition. Subsequent to HDFC Bank, I was with Kotak Mahindra Bank, wherein I was looking after the corporate link business. This was essentially supply chain finance, wherein everything from purchase order financing to post billing to receivable finance. Thereafter, I was looking after one of my own ventures, which really didn't work out, but it gave me a lot of experience and insight as to how to manage an entrepreneur unit. This was in travel sector, and we were basically processing, leads for travel sector entities based in the US. Thereafter, I moved to Middle East, and that was a totally different world altogether. To begin with, a cultural change, but more importantly, the banking in itself. I realized that I would need to unlearn a lot to learn a lot more in Saudi Arabia, and that's what I did. And fortunately for me, once again, team, the mentors, and the market itself, helped me gain a lot of experience. So from asset financing to leasing to within leasing to operational and financial leases, I picked up the experience over there. And then finally, I was there for banking in a Bank Al Jazeera, which was once again a corporate finance role. This was just prior to COVID. Thereafter, after I came back to India, I've been actively involved into consultancy of startups for venture funding. And recently, last year, I picked up a consultancy assignment for Sikkim of government, wherein we are promoting Sikkim as, like you mentioned correctly, as a investment destination. Now, Sikkim, people think it's all about tourism, but the government over there is actually promoting medical, hospitality, of course, like I said, tourism, but medical tourism they're promoting. They're also promoting, infrastructure investments. So it's an interesting portfolio I have over there. And with a lot of consultancy that I'm giving to startups, I feel is the right time to take my career to a next level.
That's really very great, I must say, and an interesting career journey so far.
Yes, it's been,
yes, of course. So moving ahead, we want to know, like, what do you consider your early inspiration for your career choices, especially in banking and finance, and what has kept you motivated throughout your career journey?
The initial openings that I opted out was mainly because of the fact that they were in sync with my qualification. But thereafter, it was all about business development, sales, and marketing. So the common thread in all my assignments has been that I had to learn a lot about the product or the service that I was giving in, so that I can claim myself to be one of the best in the business development team over there. For example, if I was selling tractors, I had to learn a lot about hydraulics. I had to learn about a lot about the farm operations. I had to learn a lot about how to purchase second-hand tractors. When I came into banking, I had to learn about balance sheet. I had to learn about financial analysis. So that's the every time there has been a change, there has been a lot of scope to learn. So that has kept me in terms of learning and kept me motivated. In banking specifically, you see, banking is one industry wherein it's got to connect with every sector of the corporate world. So as a banker who's especially into financing, you know about practically each and every industry. I've actually, in Saudi Arabia, I was actually doing a lot of promotion for Aramco IPO. So which was I was not a part of the capital market team, and yet I had to sell those products to my clients in business banking and corporate finance. So learning and then actually learning about a lot many other industries, that's what has kept me motivated to be in banking industry. And the recent advent of the startup financing, that in itself is a different ball game. You see a lot of youngsters with bright ideas, probably nothing on their balance sheets or nothing to state in terms of P&L accounts. But yes, the ideas that they come up with, and so it's pretty. So that keeps me young, I would say, so that I can actually
Yes.
keep on interacting with them and then offer my expertise and at the same time learn a lot from them.
Yes.
So learning has been a motivation all through.
That's really great, I must say. So given your extensive experience, how do you stay informed about evolving market trends and regulatory changes, especially in the banking and financial sectors?
Read, and offlay the podcasts. One thing I have realized over a period of time, that nothing can keep you updated better than reading. You actually mentioned the regulatory changes, SBI, RBI circulars, SEBI circulars, a lot of literature issued by the Indian Banking Association. These are the ones which actually give you a lot of inputs about the regulatory changes. Then all the updates that's happening within your organization, a lot of internal and intra mails that are happening in terms of updates. So reading is the best way to keep in touch with the regulatory changes. Market, of course, it has to be through a lot of networking, both professional and personal. You need to be meeting your clients. You need to be meeting others from the field. That's what keeps everything updated, right? And off late, like I said, industry-specific podcasts have been great.
That's there. So when we talk about ESG and corporate governance, we want to know how and when did you develop an interest in ESG and corporate governance?
You see, in fact, the very start of my career on the shop floor, we may not be terming it as a CSR, but the fact was we were very concerned about the welfare of the labor on the shop floor. As a shift supervisor, on a daily basis, it was my duty just to ensure that they have their lunch prior to my having my lunch. So somewhere along the lines, that concept of a CSR and the ethics of managing your team were inbuilt at the very beginning itself. And then going ahead in the industry that I was, catering to the rural sector, in the agri sector, it was very difficult not to be touched by the concept of CSR. So I would say CSR has been there from the very beginning. We may not have termed it as CSR then and there, but yes, it was very much over there. And then, last decade or so has seen much more in terms of CSR and ESG. And it is very difficult not to be informed about ESG and CSR, not to be actually, practicing that in your career. Because if you don't, then you're outdated. I mean, regulatory wise, yes. And even then, because everyone else is doing it, if you don't, you will be outdated.
Yes, that's there definitely. So our next question is also on the similar terms. As an ESG and corporate governance expert, what values do you bring to the table?
I won't say I'm an expert, I'm a practitioner, always learning. But having said this, the common thread between ESG and CSR is definitely the ethics. Ethics of doing a business in a professional manner, in an honest manner, and thereby actually, contributing a lot to the, like they say, the triple E concept, the triple E bottom line. So I have realized that the more guidelines of ESG or BRSR that you follow, then they actually tend to, raise your bottom line to an extent that you've always been wanting it. As an expert, but like I mentioned, I'm not an expert. As a practitioner, I always look out for opportunity wherein we can actually integrate the concept of ESG within our working itself. Yeah. So it's an ongoing process, yes, because it's a regulatory requirement, but nevertheless, it also helps to increase our profits. And I would say a lot of man management skills that I possess contribute a lot towards the social aspect, both in ESG as well as CSR, so, and of course, I remember this when I was with HDFC Bank. At that time, I was very much interested towards funding JETRO for farmers because it would have helped me to reach my PSL, priority sector lending targets. At that time, it was not somehow approved, but then I had really pushed for it. And so someone actually said that you're acting as if you're not a banker, you're an environmentalist and an activist. So now I realize that everyone in a corporate sector has to be an activist, simply because now it's required by the corporate law to be promoting these ethics. Yes, so that's what it is all about.
Yes, that's definitely there. So when we talk about technology, what are some of the most remarkable changes you have seen in your field with changes in technology? And what changes do you expect to see with the advent of IoT, AI, ML, blockchain, big data, and Web 3.0?
You see, the best change or the a definite change that I would say is the fact that how we are approaching the customer. When I started off my career in banking, the channels available were, a call center, both inbound, outbound, direct referrals, or the branch banking network itself, and of course the DSA networks. But the last 10 years, with advent of the fintech companies and the neobanking sector, I realized that getting across to a customer is much more easy. Yet we need to be doing a due diligence which requires a lot of input in terms of in terms of a lot of input in terms of actually putting in terms of actually managing the risk. So that's where a lot of AI and AML has been helping out as bankers. Another thing which I believe, especially what you mentioned about blockchain. Blockchain has been the #1 technology today, which is helping bankers throughout the world for AML and KYC norms. I mean, in today's world, without a blockchain, AML and KYC due diligence would totally be missing. IoT itself is helping how to manage assets which have been funded. I know of companies, startups who are actually managing both, not just in terms of maintenance of the assets, but also in terms of the geo tracking. Just through these assets are based in Saudi Arabia and Australia, and the people managing them are just sitting in India. So a totally decentralized world, and the oyster being the entire universe. Yes.
That's there. So as you know, we are building a community of industry magnets. The move is meant for cross-pollination of knowledge and building a knowledge-sharing community of corporate giants and industry experts. So what are your thoughts about this initiative taken about by Mr. Zishan Pathan, Mr. Hemal Mehta, and the whole World Development Corporation team?
You know, I was wondering when I came across the entire team that why was it not there earlier? Maybe the right time is just now. But yes, what I see, I was searching around on LinkedIn. I actually didn't see a lot of openings for independent directors simply because, there is nothing available. And at the same time, I realize that there is a high demand, but there's no one to cater to that demand. So kudos to the entire team, including Mr. Pathan and Mr. Mehta, that they've come up with this idea, which is at the right time, right place. India being what it is, economy growing, we would require independent directors. We would require professionals with varied experience to actually give their inputs on the boards, and at the same time, learn a lot more. It's going to be a mutual symbiotic relationship. So that's where the networking platform that Mr. Mehta and Mr. Pathan are providing, I would say it's an excellent initiative.
Yes, thank you for these really very kind words. It was fantastic conversing with you, and I'm confident that your insights will inspire future leaders. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Pankaj Mehta. We wish you the best for your future endeavors. Moreover, trust that this initiative by Directors Institute unquestionably has expanded the participants' understanding and enriched their minds. And all the wonderful different teachings and principles that you've shared with us that you live by every day, and your wonderful career journey so far, and also the values that you plan to bring to the table. I'm sure, like everyone watching this, it is going to help them, inspire them, and grow in their careers as well. So thank you so much for being with us today on FaceTime with Leaders.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.